All right, good morning. I'd like to call this meeting to order. September meeting of the Environmental Resources Committee, and we'll start by standing and pledging allegiance to the
flag. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, so folks have had a chance to look at the agenda. Do we have any amendments of the agenda? It's pretty simple agenda today.
Yeah, I move it be adopted or approved as presented. Adopted, approved.
I have a second to that, ma'am?
Second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Moving on to the meeting minutes from last month's meeting. You've had a chance to look at those minutes. Are there anything about those minutes that bothers anybody? Any changes to those minutes?
I recommend or move that we accept the minutes as written.
All right, second. Second to the motion, approve the minutes.
Well, go ahead.
I said approve.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that item is taken care of.
Mr. Chairman, or Mr. Vice Chairman, if I may, who made the motion?
I did.
All right.
Mila seconded
All
it.
right.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm. All right, so there are any public comments on the agenda items that we have? Any of you had a chance to look at the agenda? Probably not. Okay, really, the agenda is
Then.
our exhibit that we're going to have at Sunset, and then there'll be subcommittee discussions under new business. That's it.
And then public comments at the end.
So, any public comments? Seeing none, there's no public comments in the agenda items. Number 5 is old business. Old business is probably getting pretty old for Chad. The ERC exhibit at Sunset. I believe that all the subcommittees have met separately to discuss what we're going to be doing. So maybe Chad, if you could run it down real quick, and then we'll have a little discussion.
Yeah, so I'll run through it real quick. Basically, it will go from 10 to 5. The setup will be from starting at 6 o'clock in the morning, roughly about 9 to 9:30. People will filter down West Canal and off of Shoreline Drive West, and then come around the bend, and everybody will face. There'll be 3 lanes. Everybody will go out between 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock to set up for their booth. I am waiting on the final map. I do know that our booth will be one of the first 1, 2, or 3 to enter into the park at the beginning. What I am asking you is send me your stuff that you need for that day so I can get it printed off. And we'll need to get that stuff either prepared to what you're bringing or get it to me by that Thursday or Friday before, so I can put it in my car to haul it down there for you. That way, all you'll have to do is pretty much what y'all will be between now and then, figuring out what you need for that day per subcommittee or per team or however you're going to do it, and then work as a committee to stage when you're going to volunteer your time down there. I don't think it's necessary for somebody to be there from 8 o'clock to 5. So those are the 2 main things. I'll be working with, I think Candace got me everything she needs to be printed off. I'm working with John to update the QR code on the recycling brochure. Yeah, and I'm working on some other stuff as well to get it printed off. So material y'all will have for that day. Y'all will have a tent, table. Might have to bring your own chairs or bring your own one chair, like a camper chair or something. But other than that, y'all should be pretty good. Y'all will probably, for the majority of the part, be the only ones in the tent, depending on, especially in the morning. There might be some town staff, administration staff that join you in the afternoon, but for the most part, especially from probably 10 to 1 for that first couple 2 to 3 hours, you'll probably be the only one in the town tent, because all the other staff will try to figure out kind of what's going on down there. So I don't think it's necessary for y'all to be part of that 6 to 8, 6 to 9 setup process. I would say the earliest somebody would need to be there is between 8:30 and 9:30. Y'all will just need to park normally and shuttle down to the park, or park here and shuttle down to the park.
Will there be shuttle service?
Mm-hmm.
So shuttle from here or from the
Depending on how you
trail?
space it out, the vendors will be able to park at between town hall and one of the neighboring businesses, and shuttling down there. But I think we get one car per vendor here. Depending on what you're spaced out, you would need to either park here, figure out who's parking here, and where you'll be shuttling from. But I'm going to try to plan on having all your materials down there, and that might be the last thing to do. Depending on what my morning is going to look like, around between 9 and 10, because it's going to be pretty crazy.
Are the shuttles going to run just so we know how to plan our time, will the shuttles be pretty frequent coming from the Sea Trails Convention Center?
From 6 to 9, the shuttle will run strictly from the park to the town hall, shuttling vendors. From 9 until 6, we have 3 shuttles running from the park, town hall, Seaside United Methodist, and the Sea Trail Convention Center.
So you can park at Seaside. You could park at Seaside.
Yeah, I can park anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. So the two biggest things for the ERC is to figure out what everybody's schedule is going to be, what time you're volunteering. Probably there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 7 of you, so you can have up to 3 people at a time being down there at a time. You can have some overlap, but ultimately, a couple hours, 2 to 3 hours. So,
I
10
think
to 1.
I think Michael's already told us he can't be there.
So you're working
surgery.
at 6. So yeah,
and I'm not sure if John's going to be able to be there.
It's going to be a long recovery.
Yeah.
He's going to miss the playoffs for sure.
Miss what playoffs?
I'm just
In
kidding.
the
He had
play-
rotator cuff surgery. So.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
I'm
So
slow
So
today.
maybe really 5 of us that we can figure out.
Well, we could figure it out by email or text or something.
Right. We'll get that set up.
We'll figure it out.
afterwards.
Maybe have Steve have you take the ball and organize us.
I told
Well, John can still text.
yeah,
right.
and I told I think a couple of y'all in the agenda meeting that we had last week. It needs to be specific. Send me what you need, how many copies you need of it. That way I don't short side you or anything like that. I know John's got the banner. I don't know who has all the bags.
John has some.
Okay. So
And the bags are in the conference room.
Yeah, so I'll put a couple boxes of bags in the back of my car, make sure they get down there for y'all.
I'll get
give them out.
I'll get all of John's stuff and get it to you.
Yeah, so that way I can put it in the back of my car. It will be down there
So when do you want to do that?
by the Thursday or Friday before.
Okay.
So that would be the 5th or the 6th. So anytime on the 5th, probably by noon or 1 o'clock on the 6th.
Okay.
I'm trying to take I think you just need to probably start scheduling around 9:30, probably 9 o'clock. That way you get down there and you can set everything up before 10 o'clock, but you don't need to be here no earlier than that, I don't think, because I will have all your stuff down there. You might not be the best idea for John to be down there first, because he might have to, or last, because of the unloading. But I'm trying to minimize that as much as I can for you, depending on what my morning looks like. is I will be in charge of working with the West Brunswick High School football staff and team to get vendors from point A to point B. And hopefully by that afternoon, I still have a voice, but trying to figure out might just be, I know I'll be running around like a chicken with my head cut off. I just don't know the degree of that yet. So, any questions on that?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay.
We will meet up via email and decide our schedule. So,
and I can probably spearhead a little bit of that. I will write down a note.
I think Mila wants to be there all day.
With mosquitoes, right?
You know, if you were to set up a passport approval booth, I bet you would probably take the cake for.
I bet.
All right. Anything else on Sunset at Sunset then?
We're good.
Okay. It's going to be a fast meeting. Moving on to new business. Subcommittee discussions. The climate report. Be giving that subcommittee report. A few things to talk about, but shouldn't take long. We did have a meeting. The subcommittee met with John Corbett and Mike Hargraves here in Town Hall, council members, and we provided them with our latest observations and concerns. You know, the stuff that we saw at the last council meeting, or the latest committee meeting rather, on Tubbs Inlet. So it doesn't look like there'll be any additional action going forward, and there certainly aren't going to be any additional resources. So we'll just have to continue what we're doing, which is just observing, using aerial drones to get our observations. So, and we had Hurricane Idalia that came in. Seemed to have no real problems. There was a 2-foot storm surge on top of 6-foot king tides. So the tide did come up. It did close the causeway temporarily, at least at that 8:30 p.m. tide. But there wasn't any real serious consequences from the storm. But we don't know what happened, you know, going back to our Tubbs Inlet study, don't really know what happened in Tubbs Inlet. So what we do need are some new photos using drone photography. So hopefully we can work with folks that have volunteered before to get some new photos, maybe at the end of this month when we have king tides actually coming up. So then it would be possible to compare the new drone photos with the last ones, which I think were from the beginning of August, and we can see if there's any real impact from the storm. And we'll do that at the next meeting. I think we'll have those photos, and then we can bring them in and we can put them up on the screen so that the folks that are watching on YouTube can see what we're seeing.
I got a question.
Sure.
Maybe I'm getting my hurricanes and storms mixed up, but was the causeway closed after this most recent storm or during the storm?
It had to be because we ended up having to close it off because of the king tide that it came in on.
Okay, yeah.
It was not planned to be, but because of the water washed over it, we had to.
All right.
So
It wasn't high over it, right? It wasn't for very long
I don't know, but there was a period of time where the water did come over the causeway.
in the evening, right?
I recall back several months ago, you had told us, or we heard from somebody that DOT was looking at raising the level of the pavement. I guess that's going to be a fairly expensive project, obviously.
So there's been conversations had about that. We know what DOT in the town wants to do. It is getting there. That is a very expensive project.
Oh, yeah.
I have sat with the GSATs over the past, since I've been here, which is the Grand Strand Transportation Study. It did not make it into prioritization 7.0. It's not going to particularly score very well. So it's figuring out, working with DOT on how to fund that. Do we know any details? No. Is there any? There's very much preliminary talks. Yes.
Okay.
There's a lot of logistics that have to be worked out with that.
I can appreciate that.
I'm not trying to panic anybody, especially with the recent bridge closing
Yeah.
and all that. So
But I guess in the meantime, if you guys are telling us evacuate, we should take it seriously because it may be a limited time frame
always,
for
yeah, I mean,
evacuating.
if there's voluntary versus mandatory, you
Right.
always need to take that seriously, no matter where you're at. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. I'm done.
Okay, then the only other point I want to make was that we want to see how we can get as much of our photos and other work up on the town website or accessible from the town website so that folks can see what we've been looking at. So that's all I have on that. So any other questions? Okay, then moving on to the green report.
Mila, Michael, and I met, since we are the members now of the Green Subcommittee, and it was a really productive meeting. We met to discuss what we wanted to present at the Sunset at Sunset, and that was effective. But we also talked a little bit about some of our goals for the coming year, and I think we'll continue working on that. We're waiting for Michael to come back from the surgery, and now luckily Mila's back, not doing passports in San Diego. So I think we're pretty well prepared for Sunset at Sunset, and I'm just looking forward to having that chance for education.
Good. Okay.
Maybe this is a question for the Green Committee, I think. And I raised this point several meetings ago about either Chapel Hill or Carrboro or both had what they call no mow May, where the people didn't mow their yards, and the likelihood of that ever happening here is probably not very high. I know I'm on the HOA board at Windfall, and one of the major complaints we get is grass not being mowed. So
Yeah, I don't think that one's gonna
make it.
no.
Yeah. But
I think we may have
And
better
I mean,
luck with
and
something like
just
toss
to-
the turf,
to-
less grass
to-
in
To
general.
go on with that, you can't ignore ordinances for a month.
I know.
So
And well, in the
Okay.
the last year or so, I've noticed how much we as a country spend on mowing. And a DOT spends $8 to $9 million on mowing the shoulders and all that stuff. Anyway, I'm done. It's just a thing with me. But we do mow our yard, so I don't get a letter from HOA.
So at least for Green, then I think we'll plan a meeting again once we finish Sunset at Sunset and get past that, and then
Right.
we'll start
Right.
looking ahead to also to Earth Day, Arbor Day, and how
Yes.
that might be managed.
Good. So,
That's it.
well, Don, you get to keep talking.
Well, the major thing Candace and I are trying to set up a meeting with the recycling person with the county, Rebecca Ledson. We Keep Brunswick County Beautiful Committee did not meet this month due to a quorum issue, so I did not have an opportunity to talk with her. But if the two of us would find a couple of dates that we can agree on, I will contact her, and we are going to go out there and talk with her and see what's the latest and greatest is on recycling. There have been some changes. One being, coffee cups are now being one-use coffee cups are now being allowed.
Paper cups.
Paper cups. Thank you. Couldn't think of the big word.
Cups.
Are being accepted now. So I just want to get an update from her to present back to this committee. It's the biggest thing. And we'll have the bags out there. I guess they're blue bags for people to use, so they don't have to carry all their stuff out of the grocery store in 15 plastic bags. 18, 12.
Okay, that's it.
That's it.
Any questions about that? Okay.
Can we guarantee that there are no plastic bottles during Sunset at Sunset, or that's beyond?
Good luck with
That's
that.
probably beyond.
Huh?
I think that's a little beyond what we're
Yeah.
looking at.
It would be nice.
Put a big sign, no plastic.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have all those food vendors coming, and
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
it's a process.
Yeah.
Generational thing, I believe.
Uh,
Okay, anything else? Committee reports.
No?
All right, seeing none, we're down to the end, basically. We have public comments. We have some members of the public comment. Yes.
You have them come to the
Come to the
microphone and
microphone, please.
Microphone.
name and address.
I only had one thing, but I have two things.
Good.
Thanks, Don.
First one's because of the Sunset at Sunset. As some of you may know, I'm very involved in the Sunset at Sunset
What's your
Committee.
name
Oh,
again?
sorry, Mary Hughes.
Mary Hughes.
I live at
okay.
513 Lakeshore Drive in Sunset Beach. Just so you know, the map is finally done and they moved your location. So I will leave this with you. The other thing about the parking, just so you know, we have 144 vendors coming between 6 and 8:30 to unload their stuff at the park, and then they're all coming here to park by 8:30. So if you take the shuttle bus at 9, you're probably in good shape wherever. But this location here, though you might have some on both sides of the building, but there's 144 of them coming here on that morning,
Cool.
just so you know.
I'm going to park at the church.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
But those shuttles don't start until 9 o'clock.
So
from
for the
church
vendors, the shuttle starts here, 6 o'clock till 9. And then at the ancillary sites for, festival goers, it's 9 to 6 o'clock. So
it's like 6.
So for us, if we get there before 9, there's no shuttle.
there's a
coming
shuttle
from the
here,
upstairs.
but not
But
at
so we
Seaside.
probably would not come and
So it's
park
really
here.
from 6 in the morning to 9 at night, or 9,
5.
6 to 6 then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But most of it's the vendors coming between 6 and 8:30 to
Okay.
unload their products, set up their tents and stuff. So,
Okay.
because the festival doesn't start till 10. So,
Okay. I thought I was confused. Maybe I'm not. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that update. That's helpful.
all right. So I wrote a note, so I make sure I cover the points I wanted to cover. Good morning. My name is Mary Hughes. I live at 513 Lakeshore Drive. I am on the west lake of the Twin Lakes. My backyard view is the 13th hole at Oyster Bay, and I've been there since December of 2012. One of the wonderful surprises we discovered when we moved here was the abundance of wildlife that was in both the East Lakes and the West Lakes. I didn't realize what some of those were until I started reading the birding trail that told me I have wood storks in the summer, black-crowned night herons, egrets, lots of migratory birds that come in the spring and the fall. Of course, we have the second year we were here, we got a really cold early December. We had 100 pelicans in my backyard.
Wow.
I have a picture of that. It's pretty amazing. Trying to feed from the lakes. And then, of course, you have the bald eagles that we see periodically. There was one there last night. I don't know if you saw that. And then, of course, our favorite alligators sunning on the banks. I'm here today because I am concerned about the health of the Twin Lakes and the impact on the environment and the wildlife. In the past few weeks, I have noticed what appears to be some type of weed growth in the West Lake. I've never seen this. I've been here 11 years. I've never seen weed growth like that in the West Lake. Interestingly, yesterday morning, one of the big alligators was swinging by. They come by early morning and in the afternoon, and they actually navigated around those pond weeds. I watched them go in and out of the pond weeds. In the past, the Twin Lakes oversight was provided by the Twin Lakes Conservation Association. And obviously the lakes are subject to algae and underwater weed growth during the hot, dry periods of the year. My understanding is that the West Lake is deeper than the East Lake. That's why I'm surprised by the pond weeds because we've never had them. The association in the past has taken extensive measures to control these unsightly and harmful conditions to the lakes through a lake treatment program of weed and algae control, as well as the addition of sterile grass-eating carp. Did not know there was such a thing until I attended one of those meetings. All under the supervision of the state of North Carolina. Their treatment goals were to continue to treat for algae and hyacinths and continue adding bioblocks to effect a biological control in the early spring and later in the fall when the water temperature cools. I also understand that the West Lake has a controllable spillway which flows under North Carolina 179 into the Intracoastal Waterway that I don't know who actually controls the lake level. I would ask that your committee and the town look into what is causing this change to the West Lake. I do see that the issues continue on the East Lake. Thank you.
Thank you.
So do you want to provide those comments, if you don't mind? Unless that's your only copy. All right, thank you.
What? What'd you hit me for?
No comments.
I had a
We
question.
just have to allow
Well,
the public comments.
Okay.
All right, anybody else with a comment?
Good morning. My name is Candy Fogel, and I live at 509 Lakeshore Drive, 2 doors down from Mary. I would request that the town try and become a little more proactive in maintaining the lakes. I know the Twin Lakes Conservation Committee has been heavily involved in trying to maintain the lakes, but now that the town has taken over, the West Lake, as Mary said, has certainly deteriorated. I'm certainly not an environmental expert, but I know that I live on the 13th hole across the lake, and I watch the Oyster Bay Golf Course mowing their chemically treated grass and then blowing it into the lakes. That cannot be healthy for our lakes. And I spend a great deal of time trying to maintain our lakefront. When we purchased our property in 2013, we had a nice sandy beach in front of our house. You could see the wildlife, you could see the fish, you could see the blue crabs. Now you can see nothing but muck. And that is, in my opinion, an accumulation of the grass that is being dumped in the lakes by the golf course. So I would ask that you try and become a little more proactive in maintaining the lakes, speaking to the golf course. I know Marianne DeMay has sent a letter to Lisa Anglin. I am told that Lisa has spoken to the golf course about this problem, and from what I see, there have been no positive results in trying to stop that process going on over there. So we need your help. People come here for the beauty and the serenity, and the lakes are not being taken care of the way we need to take care of them to preserve that. So I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My question is, do you live on the West Lake?
I live in the West Lake.
Okay, that's the
Are there any other public comments? Sir?
Yeah, good morning. My name is Bill Millman, 415 Lakeshore. Aside from being Mila's husband, I'm also a member of the Twin Lakes Conservation Association and been a property owner here for almost 20 years. I just want to put a little tag on what both of the prior two speakers were talking about, give a little longevity view. When I first moved here, when we first bought the property back in 2004, I could go to my backyard, which extends out into the East Lake, and I could look down into the water and I could actually see the bottom. If I walk out there today, what I see looks like an algae slurpee. You can't see 2 inches under the water. It has deteriorated markedly over the past 20 years. I cannot say exactly why. I'm like all of us, I'm not an expert, but I can say that it's getting worse. And what is happening since the town took over is not reversing that. I can't even say it's holding it constant. So I agree that something needs to be done as far as looking at the lakes, both of them. The East Lake is the more shallow lake. It is the lake that probably has more of these problems over a historical perspective. But nonetheless, both of the lakes run together. They share that whole beautiful spot, and I'd like to see them protected. Secondly, I think to determine what's been happening with the lake over time, I think we need to have some kind of a survey of the lake so that we have a baseline that we can actually judge, as opposed to someone walking out there and looking at his water. That the amount of biological matter in the water, the depth of the water, all of those things can be evaluated by experts, much more expertise at this than I am. But somebody needs to get out there and say, this is where we are now. And when I look and try to find online somewhere what the town is doing, I realize I can't find it. So I'd also like to suggest that somewhere on the town website, there be something that describes what's being done, who's doing it, what it costs, what the ultimate goals are, so that not only those of us that live on the lake, but everybody in the town has a way of judging what's happening. And although I realize it's probably not in your purview, I'd also like to say that perhaps that should be done with all of the town projects, the public works projects, certainly those above, I'll pick a number out of my head, $10,000 or something, where it says what the project is, who's doing it, how much it costs, and what the ultimate goal and time period is. It would be really good for the citizens of this town to know what their tax dollars are going for and what the ultimate goal of those tax dollars are. Now, I understand that might not be something you can make even a recommendation on. Perhaps you can, and if you can, that would be appreciated. That's about all I have to say. I realize this is supposed to be just us talking. If you do have questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? I believe that's it. If you want to stick around afterwards, I'll chat with you about some things. So, but other than that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn unless Chad, you had something? Okay, you have something? All right.
So first of all, I want to thank you, the members of the public. Thank you for coming and raising this issue. As you can understand, as a resident of the Twin Lake community, I'm very passionate about it. And I think I have to say that the town definitely recognizes the importance of the lake, that the lakes are the asset to our community for environmental issues, for stormwater retention, for the beauty and the attraction of the tourists to the town. And that's why the town assumed maintenance of the lakes, which we're very grateful. The other point I would like to make is that Environmental Resource Committee is an advisory entity. We do not make decisions. However, we may suggest certain projects and advise the town council about projects that the community is very interested in. So I think the lakes are in danger. My very uneducated opinion, I think we're talking not about maintenance of the lakes, we're talking about conservation, which will take a lot of effort. So I would like to make a motion and suggest that to the town council on behalf of the Environmental Resource Committee, that the town takes the project of lakes conservation as one of their priority projects, that we do see and monitor the project if the town agrees on the website, like other projects that we have, and that there is a plan and cooperation with certain competent entities like North Carolina Wildlife, other environmental scientists, to determine what needs to be done, and then to start working on that.
All right.
Steve, is this something we could maybe add to our next agenda to see how the ERC can be involved in this?
That's more what I was thinking, rather than going right to the town with a recommendation.
Yeah, I'll have to say of course I live out Windfalls, and say I am not at all familiar with this part of town. In fact, I had to ask her I know where she lives. That's the West Lake, obviously, but as far as the geography, I'm clueless.
You should
on that.
stop at the Birdwatch platform and take a look
Okay, okay.
as
But
you're
I do
driving
have a
down
question
Shoreline.
for you.
What, we have a motion on the
Oh,
table.
well,
Let's-
one motion or two or three?
That's just a
Okay.
He made a motion to take this to the town
Okay.
council. And I'm just gonna speak to the motion myself. I don't think at this time we could take it to the town council. I believe that Candace is correct. That maybe as a committee, we come up with a strategy on how to deal with this. And then if we come up with a recommendation for the council, we would then present it to them.
Well, the motion hadn't had a second yet anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
But, I would, okay,
So-
so is there a
I
second?
would,
to the
I would
motion?
move to put this on the next meeting. Would you agree? So we can come up with a strategy.
Well, let's address the motion,
Okay.
which has been made. So if there's no second to the motion dies.
Right.
So, is there a second to the motion? All right, see no second, then, all right, now we're open to another motion.
If I could weigh in here.
Sure.
Okay.
One of the things that might help is that I don't think that this really becomes the purview of the ERC. I think it's
Right.
more of a town council issue. And I would encourage the people that spoke today to speak directly to the council and bring that to the administrator's attention. All right. The other comments that have been said, especially with the golf courses and the grass, I've personally spoke to the golf courses. However, one thing that as the UDO administrator, I've related over to the town administrator, the golf courses are not in violation of any ordinances. So I do know Lisa does look into preservation of the lakes. I know the town looks at maintenance of them, but I do think that the purview of what we're looking at here needs to be addressed to one, the town administrator, Lisa Anglin, and to the town council.
And I do have a question. Is that area on sewer or septic system?
It's on a sewer system.
Okay.
So,
So are you suggesting we can't discuss it?
I mean, you can
at a
discuss
council
it.
meeting?
However, I think that needs to be just directly taken and talked to at the council meeting.
So you're recommending for the public?
I am
to take-
recommending to anybody that wants to speak on this directly go to the town council meeting and speak on that to them on that behalf.
I would encourage that as well. But this is intriguing to me.
But potentially
As a
before,
scientist.
not only doing that, asking the administrator and public works what we're doing with them now. It might be a process. I know governmental processes are not always as fast moving as people would like, but they're not on the back burner. I can say that. So
That was going to be a question I had to you. What are we doing?
Well, it
So we need to find out what it is.
strikes
What's
me
going
in hearing what the speaker's comments were that there's a lot of moving parts to this thing. It's just not one thing. And I had a question about being on sewer versus septic systems, because septic systems are often part of the problem. But I think Chad's suggestion is probably a good one.
No, I see some of the, as a biologist, I see what some of the problems are. And this is intriguing to me, but I understand my limitations as
Right.
well.
Right.
So I do want to find out what the town is doing and what the town intends to do, and we can certainly discuss this. We'll think about putting it on the agenda for next
Sure.
meeting. All right.
that's all I had.
Okay. Thanks, Chad. Okay.
Okay.
All right. If there's nothing else, then I'll
I
take
move
a
we
motion.
adjourn. I move we adjourn.
Motion. Second.
I second.
All right. We're adjourned.